The most popular classes of all are the stock machines like you may drive on the street. That is, if your car can run the quarter mile in 10 seconds at speeds of 130 miles an hour. The quickest are called super stocks because of the rather liberal modifications allowed to their engines and chassis. And the acknowledged king of the super stock drivers is a cigar-puffing traditional from Pennsylvania named Bill Grumpy Jenkins. He calls the cars Grumpy's toys, but at the rate he drives them, they're far from playthings. Jenkins is the defending super stock champion at Indy, and that, plus brilliance both as a driver and engine tuner, makes him a favorite to repeat.
You have an engineering background, don't you?
Well, I went to Cornell for about 3 years, but I didn't finish and get a degree. But it was in mechanical engineering at that time. Father died, and I was broke, and maybe not the best student there was. Maybe spent too much time fooling around with cars.
Have you always been involved in stock car racing?
No, as far as drag racing is concerned, I've worked on all kinds of drag race equipment, even fuel dragsters back in 1958-59, and gotten back into the stock car business because it seemed to fit this part of the country a little bit better, and I built a business around working on stock cars, and sort of used the drag racing at that point in the game as a semi-hobby and a little bit of advertising.
Bill, where is the real satisfaction in your particular participation in drag racing, in building and tuning the automobiles, or in actually winning the races?
Well, the biggest satisfaction is to get the performance out of the automobiles. Winning the racing is sort of maybe like icing on the cake, but being able to make the cars run is far more satisfying to me.
To win the Nationals again, Grumpy must beat the best super stock drivers in the National Hot Rod Association, and among them is a burly Californian named Dick Landy. Dandy Dick Landy, as he's known to his fans.
Who specifically are the men that you're worried about?
Biggest one is my own competitor or teammate is the Sox and Martin group, and then in the Chevrolet team it's Bill Jenkins, Grumpy. He's a hard one to beat.
Ronnie Sox is the driving partner of the Sox and Martin team, and he too knows where his competition lies.
I'd say some of the top drivers are Bill Jenkins, Bill Flynn in the Yankee Peddler, Ed Hedrick, which is another one of Jenkins' cars. All these guys are real good and they're real competitive. Don Grother in the Plymouth is running way below the record, so it seems like it's going to be anybody's race, really.
A young engineer named Ed Hedrick is teaming with Jenkins in the super stock ranks. He'll drive a Chevy 2, while the boss will handle a Camaro. Backing up a champion is never easy work, but Hedrick looks on his chance to drive for Grumpy as a real opportunity.
Ed Hedrick, what is it like to drive for a man like Bill Jenkins?
Well, I guess first of all, it's very tough because Bill is very exacting and very demanding. He's what I guess is called a perfectionist. Bill has treated us very well. He's been very lenient with a lot of my mistakes in driving, and we're very happy to drive for him. And at least as far as I'm concerned, I think it was a real big opportunity for me.
Although he's one of the most famous drivers in the business, Grumpy and his Camaro are nearly lost in the swirl of racing activity that spreads across the Indianapolis Raceway Park pits.
When he isn't racing, Bill Grumpy Jenkins is back home in Berwyn, Pennsylvania. As he prepares for the next race, his mind is on those few seconds of victory or defeat, and his hands are on a very expensive automobile. More than a champion driver, he is one of the nation's top automotive engineers. To a man of his reputation, every mechanical detail must be best to work best. He places high priority on clean engine oil for clean engine performance. To answer his own rigid demands, he uses Fram oil filters. He uses Fram because
They work on the strip, and they work on the street.
they work on the strip, they work on the street. Fram oil filters.
Race day. And while others drive, Jenkins pushes his car to the line, cannily saving wear and tear on his engine. He's made the final eliminations by winning a preliminary runoff the day earlier, and now he's ready to defend his title. He has this to say about driving tactics.
The most important skill that you really probably have to put into play is your control over your reactions as far as the starting procedure is concerned, because most of the races between two cars which are equally competitive are won or lost right on the line. Jenkins. The rest of your action as far as the operation of the car down the track is concerned are pretty much conditioned reflexes. I run every race just the same, just as tight. It's pretty difficult to get your timing straightened out to run just as tight as you can, and if you tried to vary it, I think that you'd be in more trouble. You can maybe have two different approaches to a given situation, one where you know you're going to win, or you know that you're not going to have any trouble, at least predictable trouble, and you may back off completely and wait for the green light, or the other approach is the uptight approach, and you just do that every time just as a matter of staying in practice.
Jenkins wins his first round, but teammate Hedrick and Dick Landy are upset victims. Skillful driving is only a part of drag racing. It is a game of horsepower, and the driver who has the most is generally a winner. Bill Jenkins had this to say about his power plant.
Its advertised original horsepower rating was about 375, and in its present state of tune, it's about 540.
What sort of modifications are you permitted to make on the engine in super stock?
In super stock category, NHRA, you're allowed to change your intake manifold as long as it resembles the manifold which originally came on the engine, and you can run any kind of camshaft. You're also allowed to completely go through the engine and build it to certain specifications, which may be somewhat more desirable in assembly line specifications.
Well, Jenkins' car is ready for its next run. Top fuel antagonists Benny Osborne and Don Garlitz chat before their upcoming duel. Big Daddy has already disposed of Tom McEwen, and with Don Prudhomme a surprise loser, his chances look better by the minute. It's Grumpy's turn again. He's reached the Super Stock semi-final round, and his competition is Arlen Vanke's Barracuda.
Bill Jenkins, defending national champion for Super Stock C Machine from Berwyn, Pennsylvania. Old Grumpy himself in the spectator lane. And following in former spring nationals champion Arlen Vanke out of Akron, Ohio.
Grumpy sees the green light, pops the clutch, and roars off. But suddenly he loses traction, and chances for the championship disappear beneath his spinning wheels.
I stuck it up on a pretty good number on the tack, on the static RPM, and popped the clutch, and the bite was gone for some reason or other. It just sat there, and that was it. You can sit there in the line and say there's no tomorrow, but there's always another one someday, and, whether it's next week or next year. And I've been in it now for long enough that we can take losses with the wins and not get so emotionally upset about it.
Vanke barely has time to savor his win over Jenkins before he goes to the line for the championship. While Garlitz is being mobbed by the crowds, Bill Jenkins, as a deposed champion, loads his cars in privacy. Such is the solitude of a loser. But Grumpy is a professional, and he understands defeat as well as victory. He has lost before and will doubtlessly lose again. But as one of the sharpest competitors in the business, the balance of his races will end in victory. And as for the Nationals, well, as every racer knows, there'll always be another Indy.